Okay, people, welcome back to part 2 of Angela's Caches, an interview with Christopher Spivey. Chris Spivey, what's the website again?
www.chrisspivey.org.
Yeah, www.chrisspivey.org. Go over to the website, people, and book yourself a couple of weeks off to catch up on the intel that this guy has documented phenomenally with millions of views since he started writing. And I was interested to hear it refer to part 1, this is part 2. I was interested to hear that his website stayed secure in Iceland, because when Jackie Farmer, aka Charlotte Ward, was running the Hampstead research blog, they kept getting hacked, obviously, predictably, and the evidence getting deleted and so on. And they finally got an IP address in Iceland, but after probably a year of successfully blogging from Iceland, they got hacked and everything got deleted. So, you know, these people are pretty damn determined to keep a lid on the truth. So to get a full, I can't do cross justice in 2 little short interviews, but to get a full feel for what he's been doing and why he's been so targeted, please go to www.chrisspivey.org and check out his work. It will make your hair stand up. And Chris is Chris is an impeccable researcher, so there's links, there's evidence, there's background, and the guy's fearless. He's counted the cost. He almost lost his grandson, his daughter. He moved his daughter and grandson out for their safety and peace of mind. You know, he's been hit with court costs. He's been harassed off the charts, just targeted off the charts. So we're just going to catch up on that, and I'm interested in every step of the way where it's illegal, because this is still going on. We've got Hampstead researchers and campaigners. I think 6 or 8 of them are under court case. The taxpayers are paying a huge amount of money for it to go to Southwark Crown Court, or, you know, with Ben Fellows, it was the Old Bailey. It was the Old Bailey with Kenneth Clark. And that, like, why is so much money, police time, court time, barrister time being invested in going after whistleblowers, but they can't go and look at a simple case of children being raped, tortured, slaughtered, trafficked, murdered? It's obscene. It's obscene. So, yeah, that's brilliant. So carry on where we were. We got as far as
the second arrest.
So the search was illegal, and then the computer seizures were illegal, and then the health worker says everything's fine. This is a loved, happy little boy, but then they reopen that and come back. I'm suspicious that they spent an hour and a half and didn't even take the laptop or the memory sticks, because that's where the question of things being planted comes in, isn't it?
It does, yeah. I say, because after they'd done my daughter's bedroom and been an hour and a half in here, they never so much as looked in my bedroom, looked in the bathroom or the kitchen or the walk-in hallway cupboard.
It wasn't a search. It might have been more like a plant.
Doing something. I think what they was doing there was planting stuff on the computer.
There you go.
Because then in October they came back and they kicked my door in, smashed my window, kicked my gate down and whatnot, knowing that my daughter and my 1-year-old grandson was in here. And so I knew that I didn't have anything dodgy on my computer. I knew for a fact that I didn't. So I thought they'd best stitching me up. So I'm not going to say nothing. Well, we're going to interview. And he started showing me these photos of things like Led Zeppelin covers, album covers from, I forget the name of the album now. I've never been a big Zeppelin fan, but it's a famous cover. Houses of the Holy, that's the one. And Graham Movenden paintings. And the photo that John owns, well, he owns 25 of them actually, because it's a set of photos, but this one in particular is called Clara and Edda belly dancing, which has twice been declared legal.
John, who owns it?
Oh, well, John.
Oh, Elton John, right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, Graham Ovington. Yeah, I don't like his work. I think he's a pedo, but yeah, carry on.
This is a sick, no doubt about it, a sick piece of art. But it's the point is it's legal.
Yeah.
And the reason that I had it on my computers was because I've used it in at least 3 articles.
Wow.
To highlight what you know, these rich and famous people class as art.
Yeah, well done.
And they were showing, so I was taking the piss out of them, and then they said there was a hidden file of little boys. Well, my grandson's a little boy, so they, you know, I wouldn't know how to make a hidden file, let alone know how to access it. And so you know, I sort of came down and was just like, you're stitching me up, which they was. Now, this was the 6th of October. On the 1st of October, they again made the referral to the social services 6 days before I was arrested. Now, I know this because it says the 1st of October, but they instead, what they should have done after the first arrest, and when the assessment was cancelled, they should have flung that form, you know, the assessment form, because like they couldn't possibly know that I was going to get arrested 3 months down the line. But they didn't. It was the same sheet, Ange.
Wow.
Meaning there was collaboration. And I say that the first sheet was started 2 days before the referral was made, and this one was 6 days before the referral was made. But when they came round on the 8th, they came round, and I didn't know this at the time that the assessment had been started, so there must have been a false start, because it also mentions, then it goes on to say I was arrested on the 3rd of October. So I was arrested on the 1st of October, the 3rd of October, but actually arrested on the 6th of October, which I say shows collaboration, because
absolutely.
Them facts would not be on the assessment sheet.
Yep.
Had they not started, and I say something must have gone wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
Arrested till the 6th. Now you've only got a certain time to fill these assessment sheets in. I can't remember, 35 days I think it is.
Yeah.
Complete them. Okay, but because they started it 6 days early, they couldn't mention that fact. So they gave us the impression that the assessment was started from the 6th or from the 8th of October, but it was, you get a 7-day period where you got to decide whether to start an assessment or not, which was 2 days. But really, because it wasn't started on the 8th, that was out of the 7-day period anyway.
Okay.
But they didn't tell us this. Of course, with what they were trying to stitch me up for, there was no way that I could tell them to fuck off at that time. But what I did, I told them they were being recorded. Now, this Nicole Miles, who had come the first time we were told to fuck off, she came with you know, her million in tow. And I think she thought she was dealing with a fucking idiot, to be honest, and because she started giving me this bullshit, and I said, I'm recording you. I told them I was recording them, okay, on Skype. Wolfie, my tech guy, was doing the recording, so he was privy to it. So she said she wasn't happy about it, and I thought, well, I mean, as a tattooist for 20 years, and I've had countless people record me tattooing people, which I've never objected to, because if you're doing your job properly, honestly, with integrity, you have nothing to fear. So I thought, you know, you ain't got a choice. I'm filming you anyway, which I did. And then I said, do you understand for the police case? You know what? She said, no. I said, so you come around here, you start an assessment on my grandson, and you don't even know what the fuck. I mean, there's a difference between having 10,000 Class A category pictures on your computer, or having 3 Class C category pictures, you know? A hell of a lot of difference. I said, but you haven't even made inquiries. So I said, like, you're starting an assessment on my grandson, and you don't even know the strength of the police case. And I said, like, you've already, you know, done the first started the first assessment with on a malicious, which was stopped because like the whole freezer was insistent that, you know, that there was nothing wrong with the Kevin grandson and whatnot. And she said, oh no, the only reason we stopped that was because I couldn't get a police officer to accompany me. So I said, well, that means, and I said, don't forget that I'm recording you. I said, that means you're telling me that like anyone who tells you to fuck up or you're a bit frightened of, they could be battering their kid fucking senseless, but you closed the assessment because you couldn't get a police officer to go around there. So I said, and after that first time, man, she was never ever allowed to be in charge again. She took the place of Dominion and had the senior social manager of Essex around. And I tried over pretty fucking knots as well. I told them they've been filmed every time, and I caught them lying. And because I caught them lying, they wanted that. They said that they'd upped the assessment to a section 42, I think it is, if I remember rightly, which is a protection order. But they hadn't. But the reason they did this is because they thought they wanted to look at Stacey's medical records. And I wouldn't let them. I said, no, you're not fucking, don't sign nothing. No. And that, but they must have thought, you've got something to hide. Well, there's nothing to hide, just that I won't cooperate with these bastards at all, you know? So they said they'd upped it to a section 42, which gave them, means they didn't need Stacey's permission to access her medical records. Yet they hadn't upped it to a section 42, and because at the police meeting with the social worker, which they have, to enable it to rise to a section 42 protection order, they have to have these meetings with the police. And the police told them no, because by this time, their case against me for the images had fallen apart. Okay, so they then wanted to like calm things fucking right down, and they said no, you don't need to up it to a section 42 because the child's in no danger. Yet then access these records under the guise of section 42, although it was never raised to that. That means these social workers breached the Data Protection Act, criminal offence in itself. Anyway, they kept going. I kept getting bailed. They dropped all the planted images. All of them they dropped, and they charged me with it was 21 images, which consisted of Led Zeppelin album covers, Graham Overton, things that are still on my website today, which are perfectly legal, which I put forward just to highlight what these sick bastards class as art, where I think it's child sex abuse, you know. And so I wasn't worried. But the upshot with most of the police officers interested in that, the two social workers, senior social worker, Miss Nicole Miles, they were still giving us the impression that the assessment had to be in 6 days later than what it actually did because of the time limit. So they was going through the motion of coming round to discuss it with us, even though it had already been submitted, but we weren't allowed to know it because then that. Anyway, they then said to Stacey, the final meeting, when they were going to discuss it, but they didn't because they knew I'd pick up on it straight away, which I did. So they just left it for me to look over. But in the meantime, they said, if Stacey attends this, I don't know what they call them, not lessons, but this series of meetings, about 5 meetings once a week, for an hour a week. 5 of them with this
parenting class or something like that.
With this other social work, this one we hadn't seen before, they will sign it off regardless of whether the police charge, because I hadn't been charged at that time. This still before I was charged, but the case had completely fallen apart by then. And the reason they was doing that is because they wanted to get Stacey away from me. Because they couldn't, they said they can't have to make, they have to be held at, not just up the road to have it happens. So I thought, well, that's not a fucking problem because I'll just send Stacey mic'd up. Right? Because I know what they were going to do. Because what they do, Ange, they say, oh yeah, we're your friends and all that, and You can trust us. And then when it comes to the report, they put, oh no, she's awful, mother, like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I even saw them saying, oh, he smokes. He smokes. We have to take the baby away. He smokes.
Exactly. So I thought I'll ring Stacey up wide for sound. So she's all recorded. So she goes to the first one. I said, don't tell her that you're recording her unless she asks. If she asks, don't lie. Just say, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they get there and hello, Stacey. I'm so glad that you've agreed.
And where was Stacey by then? Had she been housed by then?
No, Stacey was still living here at the time.
Oh, okay, so where was she?
That's why they wanted to get her away from here, because they knew, but if they came here, I'd be here.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Isolate her. Got it.
She was only 18 at the time, and she wasn't as screwed up like what I am, you know. And when I'm there to watch her, they can't get anything. See. So this I can't remember what her name is now. She said to Stacey, "Are you recording this?" So Stacey said, "Yeah." Stacey said, "Well, I'm not happy about that." So Stacey said, "Well, you know, if there's nothing underhand going on, there's no problem. No one will ever get to hear them as long as you know you're acting with integrity and whatnot and doing your job properly." So I'm not happy. So she said, she said, I'm going to need to take advice from my boss. She said, she said, we won't have today's meeting. Just bear in mind the first one. We won't have today's meeting. Come back next week. So I say nothing had been, they hadn't even started. Come back. And I said, no, I'm back again. So she went back the next week, and either this social worker hadn't spoken to her boss, or her boss had said, no, you can do about it, whatever. She said, look, she said, are you recording? And Stacey said, yes. So she said, well, I'm not prepared to do these talks, these advice and whatever it is. What are you calling me? Which that's why I say, Angie, you know, if you've got nothing to hide, you should have no.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're public servants, and like when they say, "Oh, I'm not happy you're recording me," well, it's like, well, I'm not exactly over the moon about you.
Because I'm going to fucking lie to you, and I'm going to try and tough you up, is what they mean. So she terminated it, and they signed it off. We got the letter through that like the case was now closed. Stacey completed it, and she hadn't even completed the fucking first one, let alone any of that. Like,
they just weren't willing to be recorded.
And that was the end of the matter. So that was Clayton's safe. But the thing is, Andy, with that recording, I think that should be law that they have to be recorded.
Absolutely, they're public servants. If they're doing their job properly, they should have no problem. I think the only time it's illegal to record without permission is in a court or in a prison. Is that right?
That's what I'm talking about. The social workers.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not the public, but I would advise anyone who's got the social workers on their back, no matter how nicey they are, because they're not.
Record it.
Record it. There is nothing they can do about it. If they leave, that's down to them.
Yep.
You haven't refused to cooperate with them.
Yep.
Because you're calling for your own safety. And I would say, I must stress to everyone, this is, in the end, although I had a lot of backing, a lot of people that they closed down the extensions to these two social workers. So many people was ringing up complaining about them.
Yeah.
But it was the recording that saved me, because I caught them lying twice.
Yep.
Thanks to my face, and I pulled them and I said, it's there, one. Now I've got it, I'm living it, you're lying to me.
Yep.
And at the very last meeting, when they'd already submitted the assessment, unbeknown to us, the manager, she turned around and she said, you got to trust us. And I said, how can I fucking trust you? I said, like, twice I've caught her, putting in the coal mine, twice I've caught her fucking lying straight to my face. So she said, yeah, we'll talk about that. And went like that, as if we talk about it when you're not fucking filming me. So
yeah, I bet.
And they completely fucked the investigation up, but it was quite obvious. The point of the arrest, the first arrest, was to get my computers to see what was on them.
Yeah.
And to lay the groundwork for removing Clayton from a loving home just to spite me, just to get me.
Shut you up. Just because how dare you tell the truth and have 10 million or 12 million or 15 million people read your blogs telling the truth? How dare you?
What kind of people would be prepared to ruin a baby's life?
I know. And a person's life. Well, they're the kind of people that murder whistleblowers. So in a way, they think we're getting off lightly. Oh, they're not able to bump us off so easily because, you know, we have high profile and they're getting seen through. So now, right, well, we'll steal their children, steal their grandchildren, steal their houses, you know, target them, make them miserable, frighten them, break them, you know, like go after them if they've got cancer, like Tom Crawford, or it's despicable. And it's just, I'm just praying that the public will wake up, and instead of saying, oh, what's going on with CHRIS Spivey or Angie Power or whatever, instead of that, they'll say, why are they being shut down? Why are they being targeted? What truth are they putting out in the public arena?
But it's not just whistleblowers, Angie. These social workers, they pick on the young mothers, single mothers, because they know.
Oh, that's trafficking. That's a whole different.
They give it, don't you worry, we look after it. You know, we're not trying.
That's child stealing. That's a whole industry. I just interviewed a woman. She lived in Kensington and Chelsea where there were no school places. So they said, you better homeschool. So she homeschooled brilliantly. She happened to have had the baby with somebody who was mixed race from Ethiopia, but the baby was white. But they said to her, because your baby's not in school, when he was 5 or 6, because he's not in school and he's actually black, we're going to have to take him.
Yeah. And what did they do to him?
They took him, and when he aged out, they said, oh, we've lost track of him. We've got no idea where he is. She's still bloody looking for him. He's 25 now. She's still looking for him. And they took him off her because they said, you're homeschooling and he's got some black blood, so he can't grow up with a white single mother.
Yeah, total bollocks. But we all know what happens to these kids once they get them in care, Ange. And
oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Her little boy said to her, Mummy, they keep taking me to Camden at midnight.
What the fuck did they come at midnight for?
It was a Lambeth social worker who's been exposed as a paedophile, was pimping him out already to the paedophile rings in London, age 6, and they just froze the mother out. And she's got a council worker on recording saying, I sell children for adoption, you're not going to stop me. She went to the police with the recording. And they said, oh, it's not a police matter, you better complain to the council. You know, she's been to the newspapers.
The newspapers won't touch it either.
The newspapers won't touch it. She's got coppers saying to her, we can't let you have your son back because you're going to report us all and we'll all get arrested. So you've shot yourself in the foot. They were telling her that she'd shot herself in the foot by documenting the fact that her little boy was getting abused in care.
And I can't understand, and I mean, the evidence, when you look at the evidence as a whole, all them in Westminster, they're all paedophiles. All them social workers, they're not active.
I think there's a few that aren't. I'm still placing my hope on the few good ones.
The few good ones are hounded out or silence.
Yeah, and it's time they stop thinking, I can't tell the truth because I'll lose my pension. I can't tell the truth because I've got to pay my mortgage.
This is what I say to people. I mean, I went through all this and you know, for losing my grandson and my daughter losing her son. Yet, I wouldn't back down because it has to be done. Because someone's going to make
know, and I admire you for that because I'm really in a place of thinking, do you know what? There's plenty of young ones coming up the ranks that know computers and they're tech savvy and they can do all the share screen and, you know, show this and do that and disseminate it here and what have you. And I get very tempted to say, do you know what? The price is too fucking high. You know, when they've targeted my children, you know, like just horrible stuff, you know, and God forbid, but but if you back down, how do you sleep at night?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Everybody gets scared. Everyone gets, you know, worried and whatnot. But you have to work through it, don't you? You just
What's
being quiet. If we all stay quiet about it, it's just going to. Well, it is getting worse.
Tell me about this latest thing where they've slapped you with court costs.
Well, I was convicted of the harassment.
Harassment of who? Oh, okay, the case you're not allowed to talk about, right? Okay.
In July 2015, so it was a year, and that only came to court. That came to court by legal summons because I found out that I put a complaint in about both arrests. And they said they couldn't investigate them because it was sub judice, but what they was guilty of was a lot more serious than what I was charged with.
Always.
And I was told by a barrister got in touch with me and he said, Chris, they're lying to you. They can investigate them. So I wrote to the Chief Constable, Stephen Kavanagh, who's been investigating him so far now, and the Essex PCC at the time, Nick Alston, the IPCC, Independent Police Commission, and the one, this Superintendent Paul Hammond or whatever, who was meant to be dealing with a complaint, but said he couldn't. And I said, but you're lying. And I sent all the relevant information, the relevant points of law, and I had this barrister check it, this email, before I sent it to them for accuracy. And the reply was to summons me to court, okay, which is unheard of until you want to bail. I was convicted of that in July 2015, so I appealed it. When I was convicted of it, and it was a kangaroo court, I can't discuss it, but it was a kangaroo court, so I appealed it. But I got slapped with sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, suspended. Oh no, 6 months imprisonment on each count. It was 4 counts. 6 months on each count, so that's 2 years. Suspended for 2 years. A lifetime restraining order, and £2,000 prosecution costs.
Oh.
Prosecution costs. So I appealed it, as I say. In the meantime, they've carried on. They've got, when I went to court for the images, I said there's down to 21 images of perfectly legal photographs. Before we even stepped into court, the barrister, the prosecuting barrister, called my barrister over. He came back and he said they've got more part 2. One of them I was never even questioned about. It meant to show a photo of bestiality, which was a charged under an indecent pornographic picture. And the other one was this photo of Clara and Eddie belly dancing. 2 images, Ange. Now, a social worker told me that one of the good ones, who came and sat on one of the meetings with them, make sure they weren't fucking up to any skullduggery. She told me they never charge you, even if you've got 20 class 8 hardest child pornography you can get. They won't charge you because it's not in public interest. But there was 2. I say these 2. One of them I'd never seen, never been questioned about, never been arrested over. The other one, what was this one owned by Elton John? And they are that court case. My barrister made an application to have the hard drives of the computer independently analysed, because I knew that they put. And I say nothing was said about these hidden photos or hidden folders of little boys. They just disappeared.
No, they're trying to shut you up. Do you know what? It's so clever. I don't mean to interrupt, Chris, but it's just hit me. It's so clever. If there's people like you and me investigating pedophiles and child murderers and cult members, and so in our investigations, we're going to obviously get evidence, there has to be a way where researchers and investigators and journalists can, there has to be a way where we can hold that information and link it to the police or the COPS or whatever they're called. There has to be a way that we can receive evidence and immediately link it to the proper authorities so that we don't get prosecuted for possession of what we're trying to expose.
They won't do it that way, do they? You get no cop up. As long as these people are in power.
Yeah, well, we can't give up because I'm hoping you were going to persuade me not to give up.
I'm still here. I'm still out. I've got a major article coming out soon.
Right, and you're appealing that £2,000.
Right, yeah. No, the appeal went ahead in January. In the meantime, the court case finally for the images, the 2 images, finally came to court in November of last year. Now, I only saw this second image. I knew the Elton John, the one that's owned by Elton John, but like I'm being nicked with, but he can own it. It's available to buy on eBay and Amazon.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
And this other one was clearly fabricated Photoshop photo, which still didn't meet the criteria needed for an indecent pornographic image. So we get into court in the morning, and straight away the judge rounded on the prosecution. She went fucking mad. All right. And he said, "Oh, I'll go and speak to my bosses." Because she turned around and she said, because I'd already quoted a case of I can't remember the fellow's name, but he was prosecuted for having what they classed as child porn images in these books that he bought from reputable bookshops. And on appeal, it was quashed because the judge said the test, if they want to test these images as child pornography, then they have to prosecute the publishers, not the people who buy the books.
Yes.
And she went, man, he went away, we had a 15-minute adjournment, and he came back and he said, thank you for your time, Your Honour. We will be, there were 3 counts by this time. 2 of them for the one photograph and 1 for the Photoshop photograph. He said, we won't be, the Crown is offering no evidence on counts 1, 2 and 3, and I was found not guilty. But that took 2 years to come to court, which was a malicious, prosecution, and what they call, that crime was called legal abuse.
They should start, the police and the people that start doing these malicious prosecutions, they should be prosecuting for wasting taxpayer money.
The judge said to the prosecutor, and this is almost their exact word for word, and everything is recorded in the Crown Court anyway, so it's on tape. Their exact words were, Mr. Spivey may well be a pain in the arse, but that is not a reason to shut him up by bringing false charges. Or
Wow.
Admitting that the prosecution was malicious, which is a criminal offence. Can I get a solicitor to sue them? Can I fuck? I'm on the back.
Oh, I know, it's so hard. I want to know how you keep going. I want to know how do you keep going? How do you get solicitors? How do you afford it? Is it because you've got a lot of supporters?
Well, yeah, I've got a lot of supporters, but I'm very much in debt, and I've never been to skint since I was 17, as I am now. I've never worked as hard since in my early 20s as what I'm working now. I got social because these things, and because of the number of readers that I have, there's always people waiting to pounce, so I can't afford to make mistakes. You understand? So everything
you're breaking new ground. Every time you win a court case or get something thrown out or prove something illegal, even though it's agony, and I wouldn't want to go through what you and Stacey and your little grandson have gone through, but you're breaking new ground. You're showing people coming up behind you, right? They can't do this. That's illegal. Like a simple thing that Nilu said, if they knock on your door at crazy hours and say, we've come to take your stuff, you should dial 999, because a lot of times they're dodgy coppers and they don't put it on the computers. So if you dial 999 and say, I need you to give me a crime report number because there's a threatened kidnapping going on, they back off.
Yeah,
shadow police force.
You get the people, I tell you, the police now are employed because of their psycho traits.
Yeah,
all these people, from council officials, job centre officials, they all show signs of or the traits of a psychopath. You know, no empathy. They're all job worth.
But they're getting MK targeted as well, Chris. I read a police blog about a year ago, yeah, maybe a year ago, and the police themselves were talking about, like, the women were saying that the female police were saying they were getting huge numbers of miscarriages and infertility, not being able to conceive, and they put it down to microwave radiation from the walkie-talkie things near their ovaries. And then they were also documenting how guys that joined the police force, they were sort of getting targeted, and then by the time they went out on a call out, they were absolutely full of rage and ready to go be brutal. They were like having frontal lobe personality changes.
There's a pack mentality with them. I mean, none of them got any bottle on their own, but they're moving pack. You know, I've been down, I live in South, or just outside Southend, and I've been down the air shows before, and inevitably someone's been arrested for being drunk. But there's 6 people, you wonder how you can get 6 people sat on one person, you know? Because
I know. I think, I'm not getting off the book with the targeting, but I was raised to always trust a policeman, and it's in me, it's like I get a shock when they're bad. Because I was raised that you can always go to a policeman will help you. If you get lost, if somebody does something bad, go and tell a policeman. I'm of that generation, so it's still shocking me that
30, 40 years ago, that was the case, Angie. But now, they drive around in black, sinister-looking cars in groups of 4. They're all done like RoboCop, you know, all very aggressive and whatnot. And even the first, and someone not doing anything wrong, their first reaction to seeing these policemen is to move away, get away from them, you know, because that is what they are. They're sinister, bully boys.
Very sad. I still like to think there's some good. I tried to whistle-blow with some good coppers in Ireland, and they really tried to help me, and they gave me a lot of inside info. But they came back and they said there's 5 Garda commissioners and 2 of the 5 are in the cult. Of the cabinet, the ministers are also in the cult. So we're either taking early retirement or we're keeping our mouths shut, even though we know that everything you're telling us is true, because we know even more that it's true.
Yeah, and I say that these good coppers, good social workers, and because they just started at the time. I mean, Blair brought in all this Charles Diddy malarkey. But so, you know, as they retire, they're replaced by psychopaths without a doubt, and it stinks. The whole establishment absolutely stinks.
So do you think there's any point in the good social workers and the good coppers and the good judges? Any point in them trying to fix the system from within, or has the whole system got to be collapsed?
The whole system has to be collapsed and start again. You got to have how can you have a democracy where the politicians who are meant to be working for you are just interested in their own feathering their own nest? They belong to these secret societies where they're obliged to help one another out, you know, and it's pretty much sewn up. You got the whole lot's got to be dismantled. The political parties have got to be dismantled, and you know, the power taken away from government and given to elected councillors who you know have to be absolutely transparent. No one can belong to Masons or anything like that.
But it's not just the Freemason thing of help a brother out, you know, son of a widow, whatever like that. It's not just that. It's because they're all blackmailed and compromised.
They are, yeah. And I have a list which I put on my website quite a while ago of Satanic paedophiles. And you won't believe the names on there.
Yeah, your lists are dynamite. I've got about 1 minute left. Tell people what is your favourite ever blog that you wrote? If people would go and read one thing, which one would it be?
If people want to think about, I tend to read Harass because that's about my plight. But my favourite really is the first one that really took off, although it's a little bit dated now. It's called Monsters Inc. and it's about the British royal family and how corrupt they are.
Wow. Okay. All right, people. It's been an absolute joy. I love this man. I love his courage. I love that he didn't buckle under the huge pressure on his daughter and his grandson and everything that was dear to him. Go to his website, www.chrisspivey.org, and you know, just we pray for your appeal.
With an open mind. That's all I ask. I don't, you know, just read it with an open mind.
Open mind, and don't mind the curse words.
Then decide at the end.
Yeah, read the whole thing. Skim over the F-bombs if you're not that way inclined.
Why are you more worried about a swear word than your children getting raped?
Yeah. Really, seriously, I think anybody would swear if their children were getting raped, tortured, slaughtered, trafficked, and murdered. So thank you very much, Chris. It's been an honour. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure, Angie.
Stay in touch. I might pick your brains a little bit.
And no worries.
All right. God bless.
Bye. All done.